Hi guys, this is Ravenclaw What If. Welcome back to another What If story. Last time on What If Deku was Zuko reincarnation, as Zuko and Momo fought the finals in the Cork Blast tournament. Zuko had a interesting fight with Lulu Todoroki. As eventually, Zuko and Momo did win. As Zuko was approached a shady person. Well, a shady person, bumped into Zuko and mentioned his nickname that he made in Russia. Zuko decided to take the man's offer to be part of this underground fight that he was going to orchestrate in the next 2 weeks. As Izuku did, well, Zuko did enter the tournament, but unknowns to Izuku, Lulu was keeping an eye on him, unknowing to Zuko. So was Inko. As when the raid finally happened, Inko stopped. Before the raid could happen, Inko did stop Zuko from killing Muscular from that spot. Eventually, Zuko did escape, but down the line he was knocked out by Inko, as she's far more experienced when it comes to fights than Zuko. Zuko's been in tournaments and all that, but she's been making her sorry her job for a living is fighting villains, and the fact that she's been training since she was a little girl with her grandfather, or sorry, with her dad, father, Iroh. So She has a lot more better skill set than Zuko. Ryoko was blocking Zuko's exit, and immediately, if he would have took off, yeah, Ryoko would have pinned him to the ground. As Inko and Zuko get to the manor, as Zuko sees a familiar face, Iroh. Zuko saw him a couple times at the tournament. As the old man has a warm smile as he's like, "Welcome, welcome home, grandson." Sure, I guess. As Zuko looks at him like kind of weird, as Iroh starts laughing it off. As Zuko looks at his mother, "So, where's my cell?" As I don't have any cells in my house. It's a house. You have your own room. What's the difference? As Zuko walks off, as one of the staff shows him to his room, as as about a few weeks has passed, as Izuku, sorry, Zuko was taking some online classes to catch up to his current grade for him to start going to high school. As you have Zuko and Inko, as they're doing their daily sparring, as you see Zuko being tossed on the ground each time he goes into attacks his mother during the spar. You're letting your anger cloud your mind, Zuko. You're never going to defeat me that way. I suggest you shut up and fight. Goddamn heroes. You sure like to hear yourself talk, do you? Is that kind of pissed off Inko? No. as Iroh stops it before it even begins. Think you two need to cool off. Whatever. I'm not done talking to you, young man. Bite me. As Zuko walks off, as Inko's, getting frustrated. I swear, Dad, I want to wring his little neck. As Iroh starts laughing, what is so funny, Dad? It's it's funny because he's exactly like you at that age. I was nothing like that. I was nowhere near that, like that. No, you were exactly like that. If anything, you were worse. In training Izuku is your responsibility. He is your son after all. I will train his mind. You train his body. This would be a lot helpful if he would open up just a little bit to me. I don't even know my own son. As Iroh's like, well, I think you should change that. As how? He won't even, speak more than 2 words to me. As it finally clicks in her mind, Dad, I need a pack. As Iroh said, where are you going? As he knows full well where she's going. As if if I want to understand my son at any level, I need to visit the place where he was living. I need to go to Russia. Check the status of our oldest estate. If I go there, I might find a clue what type of life he's been living. After all, apparently he likes to write in journals, so. And I've had heard Zuko mention a couple times that his journals were. He's had left a lot of stuff, so it would be a nice gesture to pick it up for him, anyways. And she's thinking in her head, and I'm gonna spy. I'm gonna see what's in these journals, and she just wants to know her son, basically, when it comes down to it. But Dad, are you sure you're gonna be okay dealing with Zuko alone? Oh, don't worry. I think I can imagine, dear. Why don't you run off and why don't you run off and get ready, and when you get back, you will notice a change in Zuko. As Inko, hugs her dad as she runs off and gets ready, gets some luggage as she begins to go to Russia real fast using their family's clan private jet. As a day has passed, as Zuko's in his bed, as suddenly there's a ray of sunlight hitting his face. As you have Iroh, get up now, get up, grandson. As he's like, what is it, Gramps? What do you want? Get dressed. Meet me. Meet me in front of this section of the manor. As Zuko does get up, as he yawns, as he sees Iroh standing in front of a incomplete garden that needs to do plants and bricks and stones and all that stuff. As Zuko sees a lot of people, unloading something from a truck, and they're placing it in a garden. As it's just plants and garden stuff. What's going on? Simple, Zuko. Your job is while your mother's away is to complete the garden. What? What about training? No training. You need to unwind. Haven't stopped. You haven't even stopped to relax once, have you, Zuko? No, Gramps, I haven't. It's about time you take a minute to reevaluate some things. And this is a good relaxing exercise. Come find me when you finished. I'm gonna drink some tea. As Ira goes off to drink some tea. As Zuko, finally start building the garden. As a few days has passed, as the garden finally is complete, as Zuko planted all the plants, but all where they need to go, as Iroh's behind him. So how do you feel, Zuko? As relaxed. I haven't never felt relaxed. This is interesting. Very well, Zuko. Get into a fighting stance. Are you sure, Gramps? Don't worry about me. Don't let my age fool you. I can still I can still take you down. Zuko grins. It's like, well, aren't we cocky in your old age? As Iroh gestured for him to get in a fighting stance. As Izuku is going into a couple combinations, as Iroh, easily dodging this because he's a lot more experienced. You see, your technique's a lot more precise now since you've been relaxed. You're not as angry as Zuko goes in for a sidekick, as Iroh just ducks under it. As he sweeps his legs, as Zuko falls down, as he has Iroh's is still sitting there drinking tea. Standing there drinking tea, because he's not really sitting, so. You should never allow your anger cloud your mind, Zuko. You'll make mistakes. Makes your form, leaves you wide open for your foes to take advantage of. Now, I want to see you do a couple of exercises using fire bending. As he gives off a combination, as Zuko does his exercise all day long. As I always stop, you're not breathing correctly. It's all in your breathing is off. You're not using your full capabilities of the fire. That's why your fire is not as strong. As Iroh, touch up on his technique and his breathing technique, where he could Zuko could imitate harder fire now. Yeah, he really didn't need an upgrade, but yeah, yep, he's better come to his fire now. Well, the temperature wise, when they're using his fire bending, and yeah, and with his pyrokinesis ability to create fire anywhere he really wants, that's does yeah, it just adds on to his skill set. We cut to Russia as she finally got out of the private jet on their family's air strip of land they own in that little area. As a car is waiting for her, as she gets in. Where you want to go, Mrs. Midoriya? I want to go to our old estate. Wait, no, let's hit in town first. I want to check this place out. As Inko, her driver drives her through town. As Inko sees the defeated, and feared look in everyone's eyes in the general population. As she sees a couple of heroes blackmailing people. I see. So that's what's going on here. Is there somewhere else you want to go, ma'am? Yeah, let's head back to the manor. Are you sure? That's the Dragon of the West's lair. Please, these people don't need the trouble. Don't worry. Don't worry, there won't be no trouble. I know the dragon in the west. Really, ma'am? As the dragon? Yeah, because he's my son. As that kind of shook the guy. Yes, ma'am. I'll get you there as soon as possible. She gets to the manor as she sees a part of the manor is not as dusty as the rest. Only when the parts of Zuko's parts of the manor that he stayed in, he cleaned up. But the other portion of the manor, yeah, it's all dusty and old. As she sees, a couple of things of bending from the private library in his manor. Of course. Usually these usually dad likes to keep private libraries, so he must have got into one. I'm surprised he's came that far only being self-taught. Just using some of these scrolls for bending. Gotta give the boy is impressive. As something knocks down as it's one of Izuku's journals. Several gets knocked on the ground. As she sees, techniques that Izuku is planning on to use at one point. And these are quite impressive. These are actually feasible. With his pyrokinesis, this this technique would be really easy for him to do. And she sees a book, a journal that was in a different color. That's Izuku's personal journal. As she picks up the book, as she turns it around, as she sees it's a by the look of it, Inko believes he holds a daily journal from keeping himself from not going insane, from being stuck out here, out in the wilderness. Because Inko's family house, the guest house out here is, yeah, it's way out there in the wilderness where it snows constantly. So yeah, it just keeps him, a right mindset. I decided to write this journal in case, just just to keep myself occupied. Today, another kid has entered the room that has been off limits to all of the orphans. Every time a kid walks in, no one comes out. One night, and a bunch of us, we got curious as we followed one of the workers when they took one of the orphans. As what we saw there was pretty sickening. As apparently, whoever owns this orphanage has been using this orphanage to harvest and transport organs. The moment I saw that, I immediately left to my room to wait for the perfect time to leave. Because if I didn't, I would have been most likely next eventually. As the night I finally escaped, did not look back. As I survived on the streets for a couple months. I met a couple of nice people and some not so great people. Then until I came upon this place. By the looks of it, it looks like a very old family house from most likely a family from overseas. I'm not sure what country. Don't really recognize the symbol of the house. As The journal cuts off there as it picks up weeks later. Amazing. I found, like, according to this, there's a way to able to produce fire without, having a cork. This is something new I have never seen before. I have to immediately test this to see if this is actually true. Week later, it actually worked. It's mind-boggling. I have to find the rest of the material. There has to be more to this fire bending, this popping out flames. As the journal cuts to 3 years later, as you have a little bit older Izuku. Yeah, I haven't really written his journal in a while. A lot of things has happened. I finally met a man that got me connected to some underground fights that earned me a lot more money than me scavenging around. Guy kind of seems shady, but at least he's well connected. I've been doing fights for him for a couple days now. It's been going pretty smoothly. 4 days later, as I made my first kill today in a tournament. It was hard. I didn't want to do it, but I don't really have a choice. Seeing what happens when you don't actually go through with the kill. Let's just say you would wish you would, killed him instead. As the next entry of the journal, as Inko noticed, the handwriting is a little bit different in this one, as it shows that the person was going through a lot of tension in the writing. I killed my first person outside of the arena today. They came bursting in through Bookie's office. My guess trying to take him out. I had to kill a lot of them. I told Bookie to book it out of here. I made sure he had plenty of enough time to escape. So I hold him off, buying Bookie some time. Or just too many at him. Eventually, I was taken down because I was too weak. As they immediately demanded that I give him his location, I refuse. That is the day when I got my scar. As the man pulled out a miniature blowtorch, and he charred well, for me it's the right side, I guess, yeah. My right side of my face. The medics that I saw told me I was lucky I was lucky that I didn't lose my eyesight on my right eye. But since that day, I learned a very good lesson. Weakness will get yourself killed. At the moment, I decided to be a lot more brutal and cold. As eventually, the general population started calling me the Dragon of the West. I'm really tired of this constant fighting, day in and day out, but I have no choice. If I don't fight, if I do not fight, I do not survive. I have no other skills outside of fighting. It's what I'm good at. As Inka, she kind of drops the journal as she put her hand over her face as a shock expression. The Inka gets a box as she begins putting everything in, all the journals in the box. As she's taking all the bending stuff with her. As now she has a better understanding what type of trials he had to go through. As there was a lot of the journal she read, so You have Zuko. Zuko is in one of the the sparring areas at the manor outside. They made a outside sparring area for in case someone wants to spar outside instead of the dojo. As you have Zuko, as he's practicing his palm techniques. He's practicing some his dragon palm techniques. That's what I'm gonna call it for right now until I can figure out a better name. I know someone in the comments mentioned something, but I have to go back and read it because I don't remember what you said on it. My bad. But for right now, I'm gonna refer to a lot of his fighting techniques when he uses his palm strikes. Is dragon palm. It's pretty much like dragon palm rotation. If you think of the Hyugas from Naruto, that's what pretty much how that is, like the gentle fist. That's pretty much how he works, how this works for him. Instead of cutting chakra points off people, yeah, Izuku's making palm strikes as he's using a little bit of fire for more of a deadlier impact. If he gets really serious, firebending and his quirk in this fighting style, very easily, very easily. It's his it's what he came up with. That he's been training it constantly. As Iroh's like, impressive, Zuko. Why haven't you implemented that into your final form or your basic fighting style? I only use his I'm sorry. I only use his fighting style when I need to. If I use Dragon Palm, it's usually on a non-lethal level, but it also has a lethal variant of it. Azuko goes with Dragon Palm, as Iroh could hear the explosion from the fire that emanate from Izuku's palm. I have a new task for you, Zuko. As what is it, Gramps? I want you to. How about in? I want you in about 4 weeks' time. No, let's not give him 4 weeks. That would be too short for him. Let's say in 2 months' time, I want you to create and develop a new fighting style with with all your skills that you've learned, including your Dragon Palm style. You basically want me to make my own fighting style with some bending involved. Exactly, Zuko. I believe you're up to it. If not, maybe your mother was right. Zuko, what do you mean by that? No, she believed you would be able to do it, but who knows? I'll do it. I'll do it before a month. That's a spirit. As Iroh lied. He straight up lied. He just wanted to get Izuku. He just wanted to get Zuko motivated. During this time, Inko went to visit every location that was mentioned in his journal to the places where her son's been. As Inko does that while Zuko tries to create a fighting style that uses Dragon Palm. And also implementing kicks and knees, of course, because Zuko's not going to be just a fist fighter. He's going to use his feet. He's not going to be like an idiot like All Might. So yeah. He doesn't really know much about All Might. He doesn't really care. Izuku, some time has passed. A couple days has passed as he's not completed the task yet, but he's making great progress. As Iroh is sitting down drinking tea as he hears, someone getting home. As Iroh looks at his daughter, so how was your trip? Where is he? As he's outside, working on a new fighting technique that I had him, make. I might have, Tinty lied, told him that you told me you weren't believe he wouldn't be able to do it in a month's time. So that get the boy fired up. Of course you would, Dad. Excuse me, Dad. I need to see my son. As she walks off, as Iroh knows that she has a concerned look on her face. As Iroh, smiles as he goes back drinking his tea. As Inko sees, Zuko doing a couple, well, fighting forms as he's trying to figure out the next step in the combination. As Zuko gets a tap on his shoulder as he's like, "What is it?" As Inko immediately hugged Zuko and told her as she said, "I'm sorry, Zuko. I'm sorry if I wasn't there for you." As he's kind of shocked. He doesn't know how to react to this situation. Listen, Mom, I don't blame you whatsoever. What you said was, if it was true, it's not your fault. As much as I want to hate you for it, I can't. It's not your fault. As Inko's crying a little bit, she's like, "You called me Mom." As Zuko, only because you need to hear this to know that I'm serious, what I'm talking about. Whoever took me from you, hope he hope he has a bad end. Do you even know who did it? No, I have no idea who did it. They had they attacked out of nowhere to know my exact schedule. Knocked out your grandfather, and that's a tall order to do, and killed your father, my husband. I got home, you were already gone. I searched all over Japan, but about time I could get on your trail, you already left the country. As Inko's still hugging Izuku, it's like, yeah, can you get off me now, please? She's like, I'm sorry. They sit down. I'm not gonna lie to you, Inko. I'm not a good person. I've done things that wouldn't fly here. Yeah, I know. I kind of went to Russia to figure out how you lived, to understand you a little bit. As it goes, I understand. I probably wouldn't even heard you out even if you asked me. As Inko's like, and I kind of read one of your journals by accident. As you could, how do you read one of my journals by accident? Well, your mother got concerned. I had to find out what happened to you, and how did you get and how you got that. As she gently touches, Zuko's side of his face that was burnt. I could schedule an appointment with the recovery girl to get that healed. As Zuko gently removes her hand from his face. No, it needs to stay. As Inko, why? It's a reminder that it's a reminder of myself that to never become that helpless again. Okay, I understand. But the offer still stands. It's always open to you. Understood. As Ingo gets up, now you might not see me as a mother right now, but I hope it does change. I hope one day we could, live as a family. Me, you, and your grandfather. This family hasn't been complete in a long time. Maybe one day, Inko. But I would like that one. I would like that if we ever come to that point. As Inko walks off, as Zuko's inner dialogue, it's a good thing I didn't write down any of the times where I killed a bunch of heroes. Yeah, that lady, she scares me. Yeah, Inko is quite scary. Zuko knows that. By the interactions, Zuko's a witness with with his Inko and Iroh interactions. Yeah, Iroh's always running from Inko because Inko's usually throwing something at him. It's usually fire. I think that's where we're gonna leave it off. Hope you guys have a good night and day, judging by time zones. And I guess the next part we'll go further into the story. Nay, we'll we'll either probably jump to the canon material, or we might do one more episode for dialogue for some characters to interaction with Izuku because he hasn't been in contact with the Todorokis yet. He hasn't contacted them yet. He's kind of been stuck doing house training with everyone there. So yeah, we'll deal with that in the next part. I hope you guys. Anyways, I'll catch you in the next video.